Welcome to Copilot Studio. I want to do a quick demo for you today on how to quickly set up a Copilot that is grounded in web data. For fun, I've chosen a topic that's near and dear to me in Star Wars. It also serves another purpose, and that Star Wars has many unique words and characters and breadth of knowledge that are very specific to this topic that would be very hard for a Copilot to be able to hallucinate answers on. Right? There are words and names that exist only in this context that would make no sense anywhere else. So I have a specific website. This is a particular wiki that's very deep on Star Wars knowledge. I can click through any of the movies, characters, anything related to that people have crowdsourced over the years. In addition, we can actually see that there are some images, there's live chats, there's ads and things like that that we want to be able to showcase that the Copilot is capable of filtering out when considering its answers. So I'm going to hop over to Copilot Studio. You can see immediately that we have several templates available, but I'm going to focus on the top area where it's asking me for a description of the bot that I would like to create so that I can continue in generating my Copilot. I have generated a description already about this wonderful Star Wars Copilot that I would like to create. All I have to do is put that in and hit send, and it's going to take me off to a wizard where we will continue the conversation to be able to build out the rest of our Copilot. On the left side, you can see where that conversation will continue. And on the right side, you can see where it's taking this conversation and turning it into actual parameters that it can use in the Copilot itself. So it's already starting to ask me questions about this. It wants to know the name of our bot. It's suggested a name called Yoda's Wisdom. That will be fine for now. Once we've navigated that, it wants to understand instructions. Instructions are very important when we are starting to deal with modern versions of Copilots. It's starting to resemble LLMs in that way. But the important key here is that I don't need to be overly complex with the instructions I provide. Copilot Studio as a SaaS offering has a layer embedded where it will already filter out common topics that we don't want it to talk about, like politics or religion. I'll go ahead and provide my instructions, focusing on things that I do and don't want it to talk about, offering suggestions, maybe promotions. And in this case, Star Wars can be a controversial topic for fans, so let's leave the opinions to the users and only work with our grounded data. I'll go ahead and send these instructions over. We'll see once it's finished processing it, we will get a shift in our instructions on the right side that will update with the newest information that I provided. Once we're done with that, it asked me if I'm sure that I would like it to talk like Yoda. What fun would a Star Wars bot be if it didn't have a little bit of a twist to it? So of course I want it to talk like Yoda. Now that that's been added, it's going to continue through this, but I do want to skip over to configuring in the interface so that you can see that we're not just tied to an easy experience here, that we can actually do this from the studio itself. So in a few seconds, the Copilot will pop up. We'll see those instructions that we've provided, the name that it created for us in the description, all pre-populated. On the right side, we have a built-in test pane so that I can immediately start talking to my agent and seeing my results as I make changes. So I can make a change, hit save, and immediately start talking to verify that this change is what I wanted it to do. Before we can start talking about Star Wars, I do have one last critical step, and that is making sure that my knowledge source is added for the Copilot to be able to retrieve my grounded information. So I'll go ahead and click Add Knowledge, select Public Website. We do have the options for SharePoint and Dataverse, which is really neat because that means we can actually have a Copilot that works against tabular data. If you work a lot with AI, you know that this is a difficult thing to achieve. I'll go ahead and click Public Website, enter my link, click Add. I could provide a description so that the AI that navigates the knowledge sources can easily determine that this is the one that we'll have, but considering it's the only knowledge source I have, I don't need to focus on that for now. I'll go ahead and click Add. It'll quickly add that to the bot, and we should see a new line in this knowledge area where my website URL is being provided to the bot, and we should be able to immediately start testing. One of the most critical topics in all of Star Wars. A little bit of a slow pitch question just to give the Copilot a warm up, an easy win. We can see that it's immediately starting to try and retrieve information and data, and then we're actually going to get a response that is well thought out in the tone of Yoda as we specified, but also citations built in. So this is not something that we have to configure. We add the website, and if I click this link, it will open in a new tab automatically to the page on Luke Skywalker. So now that we know that it's using our knowledge source and going against that information, let's see if we can't stump it by asking somewhat ambiguous questions. Not a hard question for a Star Wars fan, but could be one for an AI that doesn't know what it's talking about. Luckily, it hit correctly on this one. A little bit of a spoiler in there as well. Continuing with the ambiguous language to see if we can't stump our AI. Fantastic. So rather than giving a subjective opinion, it is rooting its information in the documentation that we have. So let's keep going and see if we can't push our Copilot to talk about subjects that we would not want it to address. As you can see, the Copilot in this case has decided to give a canned answer as it to being an AI language model and that its content moderation will not allow it. Let's ask it another question. Fantastic. So even though there is a forum potentially on this website where someone may have voiced their opinion on these particular topics, because of the content moderation layer built into the Copilot, it understands that these are not questions that we should answer. Returning to our Star Wars conversation, the Copilot will immediately pick up where it left off in the Star Wars conversation and not error out or need to be reset as a result of the content moderation. As you can see, we can continue this conversation. I could go back to incorporating information around Luke Skywalker, but I think at this point we have a sufficient amount of information to understand how easily we can get started with Copilot Studio in embedding the knowledge that we have from our websites.